Good day and welcome to Rocket with Chief. My name is Daniel Robus and I'm your host. I was tagged in a Facebook post introducing the character company and I was blown away. To see men teaching boys how to grow up to be men of depth with love and understanding really spoke to me. You see, I was brought up in what's commonly termed a broken home. It was more than that. It was a place where men left and women held it together, where the majority of examples for men were heavy drinkers, hard hitters, and people who never cried. It was not exactly the type of man I aspired to be. It was not the type of dad that I wanted to be. And I've struggled with that my whole life. I went on to Jaco's website, the character company, and wow. So let's meet Jaco van Schalkwyk, the founder, the head of the character company. Jaco, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. And what a great privilege is to be able to have some coffee with you. So
I'm not responsible for the quality of your coffee because unfortunately we're not in the same studio, but I'm a coffee fan, so you hit the right area. Jaco, before I dive into finding out who you are, in a nutshell, what does the character company do?
So the Character Company is a long-term mentorship program for young boys that are growing up with absent fathers or where there are no positive male role models. Our current statistics in our country tells us that 70% of our kids are growing up in single-parent homes. And in our experience, almost 4 out of 5 boys do not have a positive male role model. And so that's the reason why our country is in the state it is in. When we look at just the basic, just take the top 5 issues we're dealing with: gender-based violence, corruption, racism, suicides, drug use. Those are the side effects, if we can call it that, of a generation upon generation with absent fathers. I love how you explained that. We're growing up in homes where fathers leave and mothers keep it together. And so our aim is to step into that space, step into the gap of fatherlessness, and in the best possible way that we can, just fill some of those gaps and build some memories for boys to grow up with better examples. Just to have positive male role models, what we call fat guys, faithful, available, and teachable. So
wow, I like that, fat guys. I love that. So I can meet on the character side. I don't know about being able to fulfill it. What's different about you? Emphasize the word long-term focus. That's the first question, and then why only boys?
So I think let's start with why only boys. It's because I'm a boy that grew up with an absent father, and so I understand the space. There's so many calls for us on, why don't we run a program for girls? And we just can't do everything for everyone. And I know that if we can raise a generation of boys that are better men, then it will impact society for children, women, and other men and make it better. And so we need to focus on that. But we are constantly open to partnerships where that space want to be explored with regards to how do we mentor girls, because the impact on girls is probably, the impact of absent fathers on girls is probably even worse than on boys. But you have to consider, for a boy, especially between the ages of 5 and 10, those development years, a boy's question is, do I have what it takes? A girl's question is, am I worth pursuing? Am I pretty enough? And the dad holds the key for that. Mom's impact years is typically 0 to 5, and then dad needs to unlock those things and establish identity and teach our children the heart of God. And there's some fundamental stuff that needs to happen there that dads are responsible for. And you take your dad out of the picture then, and you have a big problem. So we want to focus on boys because we specialize in it. I understand why boys only have 1 minute and 27 seconds attention span, so I can work with that. I understand what I missed as a young boy. So typically what happens to the character company when there's a mud fight or a wrestling match or tickling, it's because I really missed as a kid having that. And so it's a space I understand.
And the focus on long-term?
Yeah, long-term is very important. So this is not an issue that was created overnight. And we cannot run a program where we do a 6-month course and now I give you a certificate for, here you are, you can now deal with an absent father. This is something that you constantly need, because what your father's supposed to be for you is that positive male role model, that mentor, the person that you look up to, the person that you learn from, the person that you understand is vulnerable because he shows vulnerability, the person that you understand is accountable because he shows accountability, and this takes time. This was not created in one generation. We're talking about generational issues, yeah. And so for us, that's important. And so what we're essentially saying is we take boys into our program between the ages of 5 and 10 because of those critical impact years of a father. And then once you're in the program, you stay with us. I mean, the idea is that you'll come in as what we call a bonsai, which is our 5, 6, and 7-year-olds. And you're in your junior in primary school, senior in high school, you do a rite of passage camp with us, you become a junior mentor, and ultimately you become a mentor. And so, we've got our first boy writing grade 12 this year. And so we're looking forward to seeing him becoming a mentor in our program. And but then we are creating a culture of mentorship, which means that you will never go through a process and saying, hey, listen, I've seen the benefits of having someone speak into my life. I've seen the benefits of an older person being a positive male role model, and now I'm not going to have it. And so the idea is that, that you'll have a mentor in your life forever, and that you will be a mentor. That's the ideal situation. To be mentored and to mentor. It's the pay it forward concept. And so this is long term. I mean, I want to go out there and say it's lifelong, but that typically in a society where men struggle to make commitments for lunch, long term stuff. I can see people are dropping calls here. So it's really, once you understand that you have, like the moment I understand that I've got something to offer out of my brokenness, I get to heal out of my brokenness. And why would I not want to do that? Why would I not want to keep on investing in that space? And so when I say long term, it's long term. And we are sadly the only organization in the country that I know of that's doing any long term mentorship programs with boys from as young as 5. And so our policy is no short term interventions. If we get asked to speak at an event, either we speak as the introduction to a long-term process in a relationship, or otherwise we don't do it. We're not for the short-term stuff. It's got no value. Unfortunately, it is appealing because people want to report and stuff, and so I can report on this thing and it's great, and I don't have to make a commitment around it. But we're not fixing stuff. We can't keep on creating expectations. It's like having a promotional thing at work, or a team building event and a motivational talk, and everyone's like, like all rah, and like by Wednesday it's like, and by Friday it's, oh man, I just like, this is not happening for me. And so if you don't keep that momentum going, because also, I mean, we have to understand that we're going through different stuff. I mean, there's different seasons, different development stages. The conversations I'm having as a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old and a 50-year-old, they're very different, even though they might have the same, the same basis. There's different stuff I need in this.
How long have you been doing this, and what is the impact you think you're having?
So I've been in the non-profit space for about 23 years, but the character company is just over 9 years old. I should do what the boys do, say we're 10. We're always turning the next age. Boys never 9; he's always turning 10. So so we've been doing this for the last 9 years. I also say that this was probably established in 1971 when I was born, because that's where the impact started. And I mean the impact is I mean, someone often asks me, what are the success stories? And I mean, every one of the boys on our program is a success story, because we get to see the relationship. We get to see by doing the simple things. And I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem with masculinity in our country, with fatherhood, is we are so overwhelmed by the big things that we think we have to do, that we forget that it's actually the small things that makes the difference. It is, will I impress with my children with the car I drive and the house we live in, and how I'm going to achieve that, and how absent am I in trying to get those things? And that doesn't impress them. Actually, what impresses them when I sit on the carpet playing cars with my boys, and getting ponytails on my hair and my nails painted by my daughters, in spending time in their world. And I think it's when we get to see that, we see the impact that it has around us every day, every interaction. I mean, like every day we learn, every day we know how to do this better, because the day before we mentored some boys, and we learn from that experience. And I must say that the amazing thing about mentorship is you can pour as much into this as you like, but you will always get more out of it. It's like the math doesn't add up here. We're gonna come back to that about what we're pouring in. Jaco, we're in the era where kids are stuck to devices and they're spending time online. Do you find resistance to your outdoor approach? Actually, not at all. And we have a very strong outdoor approach with regards to technology. Is like no technology. You're not allowed to bring a cell phone to a group session. You do not bring a cell phone to camp or a tablet. we are very happy to show you that it cannot float and it can fly. So that was learned early on. And the amazing thing about this is, I always say, you put 5 boys around the table, you give them cell phones, and you leave them for a weekend. They can communicate. But you put them around the table and you take the stuff away, they're petrified. They're like, this whole thing is, what do I do? And so our outdoor activities, our camps, are so focused on building social environments and building social interaction. So like, you line up for a meal or for an activity, you're not allowed to stand next to the same boy twice. We sit down for a meal, we eat at the table, which is a very new interaction for most boys. You cannot sit next to the same guys twice, not even next to the same mentor. There's a whole time there's this interaction. And you can see, like on the Friday night at camp, there's a bit of especially for new boys, they like, what do I do? There's someone actually in my space, it's like, I cannot switch off the cell phone here. This guy's right here the whole time. But we just, there's such a need for us to be adventurers and explorers. And so you provide that space, you provide the interaction, all of that activity. And there's just never a case of, I miss this. I mean, boys will tease us about, I miss my, PlayStation or stuff like that. But you go through the process, and boys, you ask a boy what was the best thing about the weekend, is camp, and what's the worst thing is, I'm leaving camp. And so those interactions where we get to build the social relationships is so important, because we all want it. We want someone to be interested in us. We want to belong to something, and technology doesn't give us that. And one of the challenges we've had, especially through lockdown, is that boys were suddenly forced into those spaces a lot more. It was so much more accessible. And the two things that we've seen coming out of it, from the boys' perspective, is suddenly that we're dealing with kids with serious issues of depression in general, and you have serious issues with stuff like pornography and the stuff they get access to on technology. You talk to any parent right now, it's a big issue at schools, and that's a dangerous space for us if we do not navigate that better, if we don't have those conversations. And so our value system really speaks into that for us as well.
You you're made up of mentors. Where do these men and women come from?
So we only use men, we only use men in our program as mentors, and they come from difficult places. Like I say, it's hard to find men to make a commitment these days. So our biggest challenge is by far finding mentors, like those fat guys, guys that are faithful, guys that are available, guys that are teachable. And I must say the teachable part is probably one of the harder parts of this, because I think we understand, if we look at just masculinity in general in our society, in our country, it is so confused. There's just a lot of stuff going on, and there's men have gone into a survival mode and trying to just figure out what it means. And so one of the great things we do is what we call mentors around the fire. This is an open invitation to any of the listeners. That either close by, or if you're not close by, you just tell us and we'll come and host one for you. And that's really a space where we get a bunch of guys together on a Friday or Saturday night around the fire, and we just talk about deeper masculine stuff. We don't care about load shedding and potholes and the 5 mayors we've had today in Gauteng. We want to talk about, I don't care where you live and what you drive. I care about your heart. What is it that you're dealing with? And creating spaces where men can be vulnerable in an environment that is non-judgmental and safe. Man, I tell you, I have seen phenomenal things over the last couple of years. I've had the privilege across the country to sit around fires with men that were opening up about stuff that they just can't share, because we don't have those kind of friendships. We have become, society has shown us that you have to be tough. And so actually what society is teaching us is how to be cowards. And what society is not telling us is that it takes courage to open up. It takes courage to be vulnerable. It takes courage to admit that, man, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, I don't know how to be a husband. I don't know how to be a father. I don't know how to cut the grass. I don't know how to, I could barely know what I do at work at the moment, but that at least I know a little bit. So that's where I throw my focus. And I'm struggling with this. And I don't have people that speak into my life that are going, listen, brother, I get you. We're struggling with some of the same stuff, but remember, and then pull that into a positive direction. I think that is so important for us. So these mentors are hard to find.
What makes a good mentor? Is it fat? Is it faithful, available, and teachable? Is that sums up what's a good mentor?
Because if I'm faithful to this, obviously I understand why I'm doing this. and I understand the level of commitment that this takes. Available means I'm going to make myself available to this. I understand that this is more than just myself. I've not been placed on this planet just to fill my pockets or my furniture with money. I need, there's more to this. There's and teachable, and I tell you that's the harder part of this. And often what happens is guys hear about the program and they go through the screening process and they get into this, and then suddenly they find themselves surrounded by positive male role models that wants to be in their lives. And that's a scary thing. I mean, a lot of guys just go like, whoa, man, I understand I need this. I understand that I have a deep desire to belong to something bigger. But sure, this is new to me. And so yeah.
This is the mentors that are struggling.
Yes.
My word. What's the big mission? What's the big mission for the character company? Where are you setting the bar? Where do you want to go?
We would like every boy in our country to have a positive male role model. It should be your dad first. That's the ideal scenario. But statistically, that is so far off the charts, it's not even possible to see. And so we would like to put a positive male role model in those communities, wherever that is. We want people to listen to this and going, man, I understand this. I mean, like if you look at the statistics, 10 guys listen to this, 7 of them are not going to have had fathers in life, at least 7 of them. But getting beyond that is to understand that. So the 2 biggest excuses I often have is, and always have, is I'm too busy. Which, I mean, if you just answered yourself, you are too busy. It's like, what are you busy with? What is more important than raising a generation of men that do not deal with the struggles you're dealing with? And the other one is like, oh man, I'm just too broken. Well, you have not found someone more broken than I am, and so you have no excuse. There's no excuse of this, because it doesn't require rocket science. It literally requires us to pitch up. That's all that boys want. They want someone to pitch up.
How much time are you talking about? How much time are you talking about?
So a mentor with us has a group of up to 5 boys that he sees once a week. So you're going to look at a 3-hour commitment once a week. It could be in the afternoon, it could be on a weekend, and then try and at least do 2 camps a year with your boys. It's and the nice thing about this is you don't have to figure any of this out. There's a platform. You literally go into the process. There's someone that walks us with you the whole time. There's a curriculum. There's an infrastructure. There's all of the stuff is there for you just to be part of. You just I want to say, fall into this and go, okay, so let's walk. And I think that's really is the message. Is we need to start walking with our young men and stop walking away from them. We need this is we are. If we look at our society, and if any parent listening to this, you understand that our children never do what we tell them to do. They do what they see. So. And right now, our society is a society of young people that are doing what they see. There's no accountability. There's just no. Yeah, it's hard to find commitment, accountability, care, community, and they see that. So the 17-year-old that's involved in a stabbing at school or gang rape, well, 12 years ago there was a 5-year-old to be ignored. And he's grown up over the last 12 years seeing from the people around him in his community the examples of how he should live. And now we want to get upset by his behavior, and yet we don't want to, take some introspection and going like, well, maybe his behavior is reflecting what he sees in me. Like, is that my responsibility here? Something I've done or I've not done? And so it is really important for us to start making the commitments, because and again, I like that statement you made. We grow up in a society, or we grow up in households where men walk out and women have to hold it together. And then we will have to like point fingers at women for not doing this better. I mean, we're expecting moms to play the role of mom and dad, and then we want to go like, oh, well, you could do better than this. And I often say to people, if you're not prepared to get involved in something practical, to do something, then you have no right to complain. You should not complain about the country. You should not complain about sitting in the darkness. I'm sorry, but the hard question is, when is this going to hit home for you? Is this going to hit home when your wife or your daughter gets raped? Is that going to be the wake-up call of the society that we've generated? Or your son even? I mean, is that where we're going to go like, oh man, I should have? And it's hard to fix stuff that are broken. It's a lot easier to prevent them from being broken. So.
Jaco, for the dads that are listening that aren't going to be involved as mentors but want to be dads, what is the thing all dads should be doing which is not common practice in our country?
So I think the first thing is if you listen to this and you like, and this resonates with you, and you don't, for whatever reason, don't want to be a mentor, can't be a mentor, then support us to put mentors in communities. I think that's the first point. Sign up for a monthly pay it forward, what we call pay it forward, live it forward, and support us. We can find mentors in communities that we can support through that. But I think for dads listening to this is that whole thing of I have to spend time in my child's world. That is the most important thing. I need to understand that it's about the smaller things and not the big things, because a lot of the smaller things is what I'm missing out on, which means I never get to the big things anyway. By the time I eventually figure this out, my son is 14 and he does want nothing to do with me because he doesn't know me. I mean, it's this whole concept of I spend, like from January through to end of November or early December, I'm just grafting. I'm never at home because I'm trying to, work, and I'm using that as an excuse that I want to build, opportunities for my family. But I mean, a lot of the time it's just because I'm hiding. Now I want to go on a holiday with people that don't like me, don't know me, and we're going to just frustrate one another. And frankly, dad should just then stay at home. That's the sum total of your commitment here. You have to spend time in your child's world. So I often say, if you hear this, I mean, just go home an hour earlier today. The world will not fall apart. That meeting can be shifted. That project will not completely cease. Stop at the shop. Buy some boerewors. Get a little pack of charcoal. Go home. Go make a fire with your son or with your daughter. Buy some boars. Just teach him how to make a fire. And then go and sit on the carpet. Don't sit and watch TV and then say, well, my kids are here, I'm spending time with them. No, switch off the TV. Sit on the carpet, play Legos, build a puzzle, play cars. I mean, as a dad, if you've got daughters and you haven't had, your nails painted, well, it's about time for that. If you have hair, then get a ponytail,
That one doesn't affect you very much. That's
I'm good,
no. Just for you.
I walked around with a ponytail.
Yeah, exactly. Jaco doesn't have lots of hair, so the ponytail may be a struggle.
Yeah, and it's about those. I mean, if you haven't sat on a small plastic chair sipping, tea out of a teacup that you're not sure where the water comes from, I mean, what relationship are you building? Because those are the small things that when it becomes bigger, you're going to be able to sit in a restaurant having a cup of tea with your daughter, or having a drink with your son, and just like hearing him or her opening up about the stuff. It's like, Dad, I'm struggling. Dad, I need help. Dad, the wheels have come off here. And that's what you want to do. You want to build into that, because in our case, raising a good man only starts with a boy. If you cannot start with that, then you're going to miss the end of it. And and we see that. I mean, boys, we don't take boys into our program older than 12 because the mentorship ratio shrinks so much. And like there seems to be this like lost generation between 15 and 20 where they just fed up. They just like, you've never been there for me. I figured out I have to do this on my own. So, well, then I'll just do it on my own. And and that's a hard space because, getting through, how do you get to, I mean, that's the reason why suicides under boys with absent fathers in their teens skyrocket. It's, 5 times more men commit suicide than women in our country on a daily basis. We're talking about 25 people a day. Those are recorded statistics. That's 20 dads, 20 men, 20 future husbands, fathers that have just come to a point where they're going like, this is it. I cannot deal with this anymore. It's because I'm isolated, because I'm not talking about stuff, because no one speaks into my life. It's just this dark pit that eventually leads to that. And so imagine that every day, gone. Those opportunities, the impact around our families. And we're not talking about the other issues even yet. So it's crucial for us to get to understand that this is actually so simple. It's like, I just have to pitch up, man. It's like how do I do it? I don't know how to, well, pick up the phone. The character company knows how to, there's a platform. I can go and live it out there. But we have to, as fathers and as husbands, understand that it becomes something as simple as that. Spend time in your child's world, and I want to say sweat the small stuff. Forget the car, forget the house, I mean, if you can live in a tent on a mountain, your kids will love having the opportunity of having you around. And if we can do that.
Jaco, that almost answers my next question, which is, what's the status quo that you reject and why?
I think for me, it'll be, this whole cowboys don't cry nonsense. We have to be tough. We have to have it all together. For me, that's just pure cowardice. I mean, we're raising a generation of cowards because it's easy to pretend this. We see it in, and then also hiding behind my culture or behind my neighborhood or behind my whatever. It's like, like if you want to bring me any, let's say, income bracket, neighborhood culture where this is not the case, where those statistics do not apply, I'll gladly support, and that will be the case. Then that is what works. But we can't. It's a mess. It's like, we're constantly looking for an excuse of why we should not do this because we are so scared of actually facing our own demons in this.
Absolutely.
And so for me, it's a question of do not keep on hiding behind excuses. Don't pretend that you've got it. Because, this is the amazing thing. We get around a fire, we're having a conversation, we all know that we do not have this all together. We all know that we're struggling. It's like, I don't know why we come in, it's like, like the fist bumps and they're like, oh, I'm so tough. It's like, frankly, dude, I know that you just want to kind of sit in the corner and cry a little bit because right now you are just so overwhelmed with life that you don't know what to do. You've probably just walked out of a job where you're thinking that you don't even know if you're going to go back on Monday. Your children is a challenge. You've just had a fight with your wife. It's like you just do not know how to deal with all of this. And who do you go to? Like, there's no one. It's like no one I can talk to. So for me, it's that. It's stop pretending. It's reaching out. It's being a real hero. Getting the courage. Like one of our core values is courage. Face your fears and conquer them. And that's it. Just get out there and admit that you do not have it all together. And just admit the truth. I mean, it's like stop trying to hide that you.
That's scarier than. I mean, we know that's scary. So the character company, how do you run? You're an NGO. What's the tech stack that helps you run? Where do you operate? What's the inner machinations?
So we. Like I say, it's purely based on mentors. So these fat guys that have these groups that they see once a week, and it's a strong commitment. These are, the amazing thing is these are at the moment we've got about 55 mentors across the country. And I was just saying to someone earlier this morning is, considering the conversations we have about the lack of commitment from men, I should not say that we only have 55 men. I should say, my word, we've got 55 men in our country that are actually making commitments on a weekly basis to do this. I mean, that is actually phenomenal. But it doesn't scratch the surface compared to the bigger problem. This is 250 plus boys that are in active mentorship that we're taking out of the stats on a weekly basis. We operate in Gauteng is obviously our biggest footprint. We in Mpumalanga and Limpopo. We've got some amazing groups up there in the Bushbuck Ridge area where there's some real poor communities. We have got some amazing groups in the Eastern Cape and in the Western Cape, starting the footprint there. The areas where we're still trying to really get into is KZN, the Free State, and Northern Cape. And so this is the global footprint. We're a fully registered non-profit and public benefit organization. We're a faith-based organization. We run on donations, everything we do. The only thing that we generate is we actually have our own coffee brand. So if you're a big corporate and you consume a vast amount of coffee, then you should order it from us. I think
Where can we order it?
On our website.
Okay, and that's the charactercompany.co.za.
Yeah, so it's what we call Mnandi, which is the Zulu word for lekker. And that's all we consume. We consume a lot of it. And we say that raising boys to be good men starts with a cup of good coffee. So but the rest is all just it's people hearing about this, people saying like, man, I mean, this is something I want to invest in. This is not this is something that I can do something with. If we rather than whatever, it's like, here's something that if I contribute to this, I can see that there's going to be an impact, and it's a long term impact. I understand that this is an investment that will change lives in the long term. And then for men in the process, we understand that the issue around confused masculinity and broken masculinity deserves a lot of attention. And so we cannot raise these boys to be good men without men. Yeah. And so the spaces where men listen to this and going like, listen, I know nothing about anything else, but right now I need to get around a fire and just have a space where I can breathe. That's important, and we want to see more of that. It's really.
And where do we these fireside chats? Where do we find out about that?
Just on our website, you just go to our contact page and just send us a email and just saying, please send me the next dates. Probably by early next year, we'll actually have a dedicated page for that, and you can just sign up for that, and then just come and either have it in Gauteng, where we do it at our campsite at Basora, or otherwise just saying, listen, like I live in Pitzonderwater, but I really need this. How do we do this? And we will gladly come and host a Men Around a Fire event for you. And what this also do is it creates a conversation. It means that we get to start talking in environments where, like, I can sit next to someone else that's got nothing in common with me at face value. But when we get to the heart of it, I understand that I'm in an environment where it's not that people's got my back, it's that people's got my heart, and that's what we need. And it's like, don't stand behind me. I need you next to me, because I'm going to stumble and fall, and I need to know that if that happens, there's going to be guys that are going to hold me up and is going to work this journey with me, because that's what boys need to know. They need to know that they're not alone, and I want to know that. I want to know that I'm not alone in this. And sometimes I want to be alone, even if I don't need it. I want it when I don't need it, and in those cases, I need to have the brothers that are going to phone and say, "Hey, man, I'm just how's it going? How about a coffee, or how about a?" And if we build a society like that, it means that I'm accountable.
Sure.
And that's important, because if I'm accountable with in a space of brothers, if I can call it that, it means that. So if I'm being vulnerable with you, that means that next week when we're having coffee, this vulnerability sits there, and the accountability sits there. I know that I'm having there's this constant relationship in which I've been vulnerable, and therefore I'm accountable to it, and that's important. And we need that. We don't want it. I mean, let's face it. I don't want to be accountable. I would like to be. That's I should admit that we have a lot of people in our country that loves to not be accountable, which is why our country is on this. That's why they drive the potholes in the dark.
Yeah, it seems like a national hobby. I've got three more questions for you. The first one is a little bit different. If you could have dinner with any thought leader or leader today, who would it be, and where would you take them?
Thought leader today. Okay. Ask me the second one. I'll come back to that one.
Well, what's one piece of advice you would give to parents today with regards to prepping their kids for the world?
So for parents out there, I think it just comes back to be present. Parenting is. I think parenting is to see how little damage you can cause. So that's often you're gonna step
it up
somewhere along the way. And so if you can be vulnerable with your children and you can be real with them, you will build relationships that will astonish you. If you can explain to your kids that right now I am struggling, and I'm not talking about dumping the whole balance sheet on them. It's just being real. Let them see you being real. Oh man, you are going to open up a level of relationship that is going to be so phenomenal, and I think that is what we should do.
Outstanding.
Because that is the focus.
Then going back to the first question, who's your thought leader?
My thought leader is actually my mentor, and I would definitely Johan Woest, and I would definitely that's someone that's given me the understanding of my identity in the process, and that has been, I mean, it just settled so many things and helped me to understand so many things. Because as you're growing older, the thing with absent fathers is you don't understand. Like if I understood the impact of an absent father at 7, I would have called the men from my community together and said, listen guys, my dad's a washout here, he's not here.
Yeah.
Here's the 5 top things I'm going to need. You guys better, I don't care. You figure it out. Come back to me tomorrow. Who's going to deal with which one of these? But you're going to have to do this, because this is going to mess up my life if I don't have it. Unfortunately, that never happens, because as a kid, I also didn't go like, my dad's missing out. I'm this amazing kid. Unfortunately, every boy you speak to, the issue is, what have I done wrong? Why am I not good enough? Why am I not worth enough for him to spend this time with me? It's heartbreaking to hear that. And so that identity is so important. So it become late in your life, you started like, okay, this issue now, maybe I understand where this comes from. So,
awesome.
And where I would take him is to the bush. I love the outdoors. I love being around the fire. Yeah. The smell of a campfire at 5 o'clock when the sun goes down, there's just nothing better than that.
The bush TV is amazing. The bush TV. So then my last question for you is, what's the one question you wish that I'd asked you, Jaco?
I think that, the one question that I wish you would have asked me is, what is the biggest challenge that I have as a grown boy with an absent father?
Jaco, what's the biggest challenge you have as a grown boy coming from an absent father?
It is the sense of not belonging. It's a sense of never being good enough. Sure. It is growing up in a space where you, from a young age, start living a life that teaches you that you're not worthy, that you don't have value, rocks your self-esteem, which makes you susceptible to being bullied, which means you're going to be bullied in a space where no one actually knows that you're being bullied, and no one's going to care. And missing out and having, growing up in that space, which means that growing up is hard. It comes with a lot of baggage. It comes with a lot of broken dreams. It comes with a lot of heartache. But it also comes with an understanding, and it can go two ways. For me, it came to a place where I understood that I don't want another kid to grow up like this. If I can prevent that, then that will be my life's work.
What's the dream? What do you want? What do you want from people? You said to me earlier, off before we were recording, because I wasn't concentrating, it's not a question of should I get involved, rather how I get involved. What's your call to action for men?
The call to action here is that, it's not, I can't listen to this and going like, oh, that sounds great, and then go on with life. Because life right now is hard. It's difficult because we keep on ignoring the next generation. And so if we don't do something, well, if I don't do something, I can't complain any longer. Then I must just, then I must be quiet. So either involved or quiet. I mean, those are the two things, the options I have in this world.
Either show up or shut up.
Well, I often say to dads, like absent fathers, and I've often had conversations like you either step up or you step aside. Because your son's going to get involved with my daughter at some point, and that's unacceptable. So if you're not going to raise him, we will raise him. And I think that's the issue, is we need to understand that we need to reach out. We need to be involved. And so either I'm getting involved as a mentor, I'm getting involved in a support structure. Maybe I've got a network that I can introduce. Maybe I can start Mentors Under Fire to get the conversations going, to get men involved, or otherwise invest. If I can't invest my time, my resources, then invest financially. Contribute so we can put mentors in communities. I mean, it's like something we run a pay it forward, live it forward campaign. We're saying like, contribute, I don't know, like 250 Rand a month or 99 Rand a month or whatever, and find one other person to do it and get people to just start talking about this. The more we talk about this, the more we raise the awareness. So the next time we bump into a 5-year-old, we're going to fix it. And we're not going to bump into the 17-year-old that's on his way to prison or hospital or graveyard. So I think that's very, very important.
Jaco, the character company, wow, you have challenged, you have showed up, shown me up, you even got recorded occasionally. Thank you for your time. Thank you for doing what you do. And thank you for bringing the masculinity back into the world in a positive way. From my side, Daniel Robus at the Rocket podcast. It's been tough for me to listen to this because I've lived through so much of it. And I'm just glad that boys have got you and the team. So I hope to hear from you again soon. I hope to interview you middle of next year, see how things are going. And from me, have a wonderful December season and a happy 2023.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the opportunity and for helping us to spread the word.
We can get you at thecharactercompany.co.za. Show up, get involved, make a difference. That's what I'd like to call on everyone today, because life rocks if you let it. From me, Daniel, goodbye.